fish on.
Really nice looking fish.
Wow, that's a trophy.
That's a hog.
Woo! Nice job, you two. There we go.
Lund Boats proudly presents the ultimate fishing experience. This week on Lund's The Ultimate Fishing Experience, we hit the road with professional bass angler Jeff Gustafson, employing multiple techniques for deep water largemouth bass. When you fish as many tournaments as Jeff does, everywhere from his home in Western Ontario down to Texas, Florida, and where we caught up with him in Tennessee, you'll gain tons of knowledge on different tactics that catch fish.
This is exactly how we catch a lot of our smallmouths up home. Little fluke bait, jerk shad, nice fish.
Another way to fast-track one's multi-technique skills without touring full-time is what Jeff's guest, Jason Johnson, did, fishing as a co-angler in a number of events.
JJ, finessing them up.
The options seem endless, and just filling one's tackle box with baits doesn't get them to bite.
This is a Chickamauga stud.
Here's two unique perspectives on how they've honed their skills to catch bass.
Yeah, baby.
There you go.
Okay, every day is a learning experience, and you get to catch big bass like that. It's pretty awesome. We're gonna get this guy back. Hi guys, Jeff Gustafson here. Got my pal Jason Johnson with me, and we are in Dayton, Tennessee. We're going fishing today on Lake Chickamauga, part of the Tennessee River, and I'm in between some Bassmaster Elite Series tournaments, and we're gonna go have some fun today out on Chickamauga.
I can't wait to go. Thanks for inviting me up.
All right, as a tournament fisherman, spend a lot of time on the road, but Chickamauga, I fished a couple tournaments here in the past. It's a really good lake. It's part of the Tennessee River, so on the same system as Gunnersville, Pickwick Lake, Kentucky Lake. So some of the best bass fishing in the United States.
I can't wait to get out there today. You know, it's middle of June. The fishes should already be starting to move out on the ledges. There's some probably still shallow, but you know, me and Gussy both have kind of fell in love with the Tennessee River ledge fishing.
Over the last several years, probably more 10-pound bass have been caught in Chickamauga than any other lake, you know, outside of Florida or Texas. These Tennessee River lakes are kind of known for using really big baits, but we might have to pull some finesse tactics out of the bag today to put a few of these things in the
That'll
boat.
be fine with me.
Guys, we just found some fun, I think, right here. You can see all these marks on there on the down imaging. Those are all bass, and surely we can catch a couple of these, Jason.
They're set up right on the break.
We'll start right here and get sort of down, you know, cast your bait up into the current and then fish with the current. If you try to go up and fight with the current, you have a hard time keeping your bait on the bottom, and you're not gonna get it into those fish. A little pack of them under the boat, and just holding a little jerk shad, little Z-Man jerk shad on a jig head, hanging it up above them, kind of like how we catch a lot of our smallmouths and walleyes up north. Biggin?
Nah, it's just on the spinning rod. Decent little keeper probably.
So I've got a spot locked here in like 29 feet, and we're casting up into probably 22 and just kind of bringing our baits over that edge, and that seems to be where we've been getting bites at. Oh, I kind of was slow on that. I was figuring I'd go for these things will actually follow each other quite often too, but I wasn't really ready for that very well.
Got you one?
Yeah, just kind of on there.
That's
Ooh,
a small
jumper. So see, we've gotten a couple bites now, and maybe there's actually a lot of fish below us on the graph. We've just been kind of, you can see how many rods we have out. And this guy was He's not hooked bad, he's just the cheek, but little football jig. We're just basically fishing. It's kind of like an underwater island or a hump out in the middle of the river, and we're just on the top end of it. The current's kind of coming this way. There's not a lot of current right now, and probably we come back here this afternoon. The afternoons, for whatever reason, they pull a little bit more current on these lakes, and then that'll make them bite a lot better.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Mercury Marine. Go boldly.
The good thing and the bad thing about the Tennessee River is the fish seem to always go to the same places, which is a good thing. If you're just coming to fish, you kind of know where to look. But the bad thing is everybody finds those same places because year after year they go to the same part of the ledge.
You hate to leave a spot where you know there's lots of fish, like we're seeing them down there. And I've fished here before. I actually caught a 9-pounder off this place one time, a few years ago when I was here. So I know that we've just caught a few little guys, but I know that there's big ones on this spot, so.
Yeah.
Meat?
No. A little deeper. Seems like a better one. Oh yeah, go get it. It's catfish.
Is it really?
No, it's a bass.
Oh yeah, that's better. JJ! Just finessing them up. You know, one thing about what we do, traveling all over the country and fishing all these different types of lakes, from Florida to Texas to Minnesota to Canada, New York, is you have to be versatile. And you can see we have a pile of rods out, and it's nice going into a tournament. You know the guy that's gonna do well will have like 2 rods on the deck. He's got it dialed in and knows what's happening. But you know, when we come out here today, we're just not sure how it's gonna be. And obviously the electronics today are so good, so we can see all these fish here, but you gotta figure out how to trick them and catch them. So they didn't bite the bigger moving bait stuff. We're having to sort of finesse them, and we're starting to figure it out a little bit.
That's kind of the proof of, you have to, catch a couple of small ones and not give up on a spot, because they kind of mix on the Tennessee River. They mix together, and a couple of those small ones can get the bigger ones a little excited, and that nice fish decided to bite.
And actually now's the time when we should throw the big bait again, just once you catch a couple and they get all sort of riled up, looking for food and that sort of thing. But it's funny, for me, all the different people that I get to meet. I've made a lot of good friends traveling around fishing these tournaments from, a lot of the other anglers, and then just people you meet in the different communities and different lakes you visit. But Jason and I met my first year fishing the FLW tour. He was actually fishing as a co-angler and then went on to fish as a boater the last few years. But he was a co-angler and laid the worst beating I've ever had from a co-angler, just about anyone that I've ever fished in the boat with. He's a really good finesse guy, and we were at Lake Eufaula in Alabama, and he had his whole limit.
Somewhere that's typically not finesse.
Yeah, that's true. And he had his whole limit before I even had a bite, and ended up leading. You were leading the tournament. Ended up second, right, in that one?
Yeah, second.
And but he wasn't aggressive or casting, up in front of me. He caught them all behind me. I didn't even know he was in the boat, except for every 10 minutes he was reeling a big bass in. But we hit it off and got to be good buddies. And he lives at Lake Lanier, which I've fished there a few times now, and it's probably one of my favorite lakes in the south, and has really good spotted bass fishing, but just outside of Atlanta. So a lot of times between tournaments, I'll actually leave my boat and truck at his place and fly back up north, back home. So he's been a good friend and helps me out a lot on the road, and that's a big part of it for me. I need help from a lot of people, and it's friends and family and sponsors, and you know, to pull off traveling all over the country to fish these tournaments. But
it just goes hand in hand with outdoorsmen in general. You know, traveling, meeting good people. You know, who would have thought I'd become friends with a guy that lives in Canada, and one of my other really good friends lives in California that I met through fishing. But you just meet any outdoorsman, when you meet them, you kind of have that connection. And it's just, you know, most outdoorsmen are some of the best people that you can find. You know, it's part of the tournament scene's stressful, but when you find friends, you make friends out on the road, it takes a lot of that stress out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's an important part of it, because you're sometimes weeks, and for me, there's at least once or twice a year I'm away from home for, you know, pushing a month if there's a couple events sort of close together. So it's nice having a little family on the road for sure. There's a good one, guys.
There
That
you
was
go.
marked that one and dropped on him. Oh yeah. That's more like it.
Let me know if you need any help.
He's coming up for a jump here. Woo! That's cool. Trust your electronics always, no matter where you're fishing. This is exactly how we catch a lot of our smallmouths up at home in Ontario, and that's it right there. Just a Z-Man little fluke bait, jerk shad, nice fish. Sweet. They're chunky, they're healthy out here. Awesome. It's really fun and cool when you can bring some of these tactics from different parts of the country and use them at these different lakes. Thankfully, we're getting a little breeze here. Otherwise, it is like legit hot down here. Yeah, Jason lives in Georgia, so he's a little tougher on the heat. If he came up to my house in January, we'd see how tough he is. There's a good one. Woohoo! Video gaming them. That's a borderliner for boat flipping, but we'll do it. Look at that. That's cool. Chunky Chickamauga largemouth. We've got all these rods out, and so far we've caught fish on a variety of baits. This fluke, a football jig, a drop shot, a weighted wacky rig. Mostly the finesse stuff. We haven't got a lot of bites on the big moving baits yet, but out here guys catch them on the big crankbaits, bucktail jigs, big swim baits. That's all part of the artillery that you need. And I've got a pile of rods in here, pile of tackle in the boat. We're just going through the different baits, trying to figure out what they want to bite. You know, a bait like that is something, it's funny, that's something that, you know, I use a lot up north and have a lot of experience and success with. Did I just go over your line while you're reeling a fish in? And you know, it's really fun and cool when you can bring some of these tactics from different parts of the country and use them at these different lakes. And I've learned a lot of tricks down here, you know, whether it's these, you know, nail-weighted wacky worms and stuff from some of the guys, and you know, bring that back home and they work good too.
Another drop shot fish. It's hard to beat on the Tennessee River sometimes. When I was traveling as a co-angler on the tour, when we stopped at the Tennessee River, I figured out real quick that the drop shot was, you know, one of the best baits that you could throw, especially under the circumstances that normal co-anglers are, or under the circumstances that pressured fish are under. That kind of led into the trends that, you know, go on, the big bait trends, the big swim baits, the big crankbaits, and then it goes back finesse stuff. And, you know, the drop shot's still really good on the Tennessee River, but at one time, it was unbelievable. There's different patterns that kind of spike for a couple of years and then go away, and then they'll come back again in a few years. And, The drop shot's tried and true to catch fish, but at one time it was better than it is now. You know, this drop shot technique's also super easy to use. It's a great technique for a kid that's learning how to fish, that you just want to.
Yeah, tell them about the Palomar knot and what you do with the tag end and make it, because you want it to sit, the hook to sit up.
Yeah, so you basically tie your traditional Palomar knot, but you tie it with a lot of tag left over after the knot. Once you cinch the knot down, you take the line back through the eye. So when the weight's sitting on the bottom, it pulls on the eye there, and it keeps the worm and the hook straight out. If you just tie a regular knot and have your sinker falling, your hook's gonna lay like this on the bottom. It's not gonna keep the worm out. But it's a super easy technique. You throw it out there, you shake it, and it catches a lot of fish, catches a lot of small fish, big fish, it catches everything. So for a kid learning to fish, it's a great technique for somebody to tie on for them and get them involved with the outdoors and fishing. I like Texas rigging mine. Keeps it a little bit more weedless. You know, if I'm smallmouth fishing up north, I'll nose hook it.
But yeah, if you're around any kind of wood, snaggy stuff, grass, you can he buries the hook
Texas rig style. So you know, one of my favorite colors is what I'm throwing now. It's just a pink purplish mixture, and nobody can really understand why in nature what a bass would see with that color worm. There's different theories on it. You know, Aaron Martins is probably one of the guys that brung the drop shot from Japan, and you know, he uses a lot of the pinks and purples. But I think it's a light penetration deal with the pinks and purples. I think the silhouette underwater, 20, 30 foot deep, it just makes a different glow for the fish to see. I don't think they're actually seeing the color that we see. They're just seeing how the light penetrates the worm.
That spot lock, you know, Minn Kota Ultrex, that's the greatest thing that I've seen come around in the last, you know, 8 or 10 years for sure. Cable drive motor that, you know, when for us, we like to fish offshore and fish in deeper water, and it's amazing. Hit a button and it holds you in one place. And for, you know, I do a lot of walleye fishing at home and guiding. So if you got to take fish off or bait hooks or take a picture of a fish, you don't drift, you know, 100 yards off the spot. When you're catching fish like this, as tournament anglers, we like to always experiment and just look for maybe something that's a little bit better for catching bigger fish. It's always good to keep experimenting, and that's how you learn. You know, this Lund 2075 Pro V Bass really is the perfect boat for me. Obviously awesome at home where I live on Lake of the Woods, but I take it everywhere. I go to South Florida. I fished at Lake Fork in Texas this year. We're going to the Great Lakes, so awesome big water bass boat. I do a little bit of guiding, and it's a great multi-species boat as well. Tons of storage. I got it rigged out with good electronics, some talons on the back. It's fast. So what more could you ask for? I'm a happy camper in this thing. You know, the past few years I've had the Mercury Pro XS Optimax 2-stroke model, and this year we're running this new 4-stroke Pro XS. Pretty sweet motor. I get a couple extra miles an hour, a little bit better on gas, and also love the fact that I'm not burning any oil. So, you know, I'd go through a lot of oil in a season. For a prop, I'm running a 22-pitch 4-blade Bravo, and for big water, good hole shot, that's the prop for me. You can run a 3-blade 24 on these boats, and they run pretty good as well. But for me, that's the prop I really like. Let's go find some more fish. You know, a lot of the Tennessee River lakes, and I mentioned them earlier, but you got Chickamauga we're on today, Douglas Lake north of us, Gunnersville south, and then you got Wheeler Lake, Pickwick, Wilson, Kentucky Lake, and they all kind of cycle on, you know, which ones are jumper, which ones, you know, you'll get some that cycle and are really good for a few years, and then another one kind of, you know, they kind of come and go. And like Chickamauga is one of the hot ones right now, And a lot of the reason for that is the big fish. And they've actually put Florida strain bass in this lake, which they get a little bit bigger. And that's part of the reason why you're seeing, like, you know, 11, 12, 14, 15 pound bass getting caught out here. And it's because of that. But it's kind of the hot lake right now, but they all, you know, have pretty good fishing and good summertime fishing. Denied. See right here, there's my bait, that faint line. I'm just kind of off to the side a bit, and I had a fish just come up, looked at it, and then went back down. I know that there's big ones on the spots. There we go. That's a big one, guys. Oh yeah, this is a Chickamauga stud.
Oh, yeah, you want me to help you?
Yeah, you can grab that one for me. I just saw a mark down there. It didn't look like it was that big, but dropped it down and he ate her up. Yeah, baby.
There you go. That's what you fish all day for here.
Sweet, that makes all the little guys we were catching kind of worth it. Just a little minnow deal again. Look at that. That's awesome.
The beauty.
A little bit beat up on his tail there, probably from spawning earlier. Okay, every day is a learning experience, and you get to catch big bass like that. It's pretty awesome. I like that. That makes me happy.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like more information, check out lundboats.com or these other online outlets.